It's out here again, and here we go again. Current events. God, what the hell is the matter with these people? Now, the felony case in Oregon. Guy gets convicted on a 10-2 vote. 10-2. Not unanimous. Like they're supposed to be. I mean, how much intelligence does it take to know the trial by jury? It has to be unanimous, and it has to be 12, although the 904, aka the U.S. Supreme Court, has apparently ruled in misdemeanor cases it can be 6 jurors, and it looks like to them that 4-2 would be okay. And taking the logic to the extreme to where it's headed, you now can get down to 3 jurors, and it could be 2-1. And if you think that's crazy, it's not, because the 904s have ruled. And Blanton v. Las Vegas, 489 U.S. 538, there's no right to trial by jury in any criminal case. So what's the problem? Of course, in Oregon, we're dealing with a felony here, so that is a slightly different proposition. But that said, the jurors were unhappy about this, and the juror was saying it was awful being in that room, who was among the jurors who did not want to convict. It was very tough. Finally, one of the 3 holdouts switched sides, leaving the vote split 10-2 and ending deliberations, if only for the reason they want to go home and get back to their lives and family. I don't think that's a sufficiently good reason to have done what they did here. But my goodness, it says in any other state across the nation, the outcome would have been a hung jury, since nearly all felony criminal convictions require unanimous verdicts. But in Oregon, the only state that still permits convictions in many felony cases where 1 or 2 jurors disagree, it meant that the victim was found guilty. He was sent to prison for 12.5 years. The Supreme Court is weighing the constitutionality of non-unanimous verdicts and is expected to hand down a decision early this month. So it goes on, there's a widespread agreement among defense lawyers and prosecutors in Oregon that the law is deeply flawed and may have sent innocent people to prison. And they don't care about this? This is all they say? May have sent innocent people to, but an unconstitutional law? What the hell is the matter with you people? Don't you know you have a sworn duty to be bound by this Constitution and the laws enacted in pursuance thereof? There's more of that fornication 404 in law schools again. But with the state law that has been in place for decades, and with potentially thousands of convictions at stake, at least one official, the Oregon Attorney General, says she fears that swiftly ending non-unanimous jury verdicts could lead to legal chaos, quote-unquote chaos in my view, and she's damn right about that. Reinterpreting federal constitutional requirements after 40-plus years would call into question thousands of settled criminal cases and could require new trials in hundreds, if not thousands of them, said Ms. Rosenblum, a Democrat, wrote in an amicus brief to the Supreme Court supporting the continuing acceptance of these verdicts. These new trials would re-traumatize crime victims and survivors and overwhelm our state's criminal justice system. Well, ain't that too damn bad? God, even John Hummel, the DA for Deschutes County, was a victim, a pastor, no less, was convicted. Pastor, 12.5 years in jail. Ain't. Said convictions by split juries were unfair and had almost certainly resulted in people being sent to prison for crimes they did not commit. And you don't have a problem with this? Goes on, but he said he had no choice but to adhere to the law. Unconstitutional, and you have no choice but to adhere to it? Damn. My goodness, the truth is that Oregon has an unconstitutional law, and when it causes tumult in our criminal justice system, we have no one else to blame but ourselves. How in the hell can we blame ourselves when we don't have any active participation in this government? When he's saying ourselves, I assume he means the members of the State Bar Association that are in control of all this damn government and allow this to happen. They're supposed to be on our side and protect our rights. Look at what the hell they're doing in Oregon here. This is about as plain as it be that you don't have any rights there at all if they can do this. I mean, this is, but they're going to be hearing from me, and the Attorney General in Oregon is going to be hearing from me about this in no uncertain terms. And I'm going to tell her, yeah, you're going to have a lot of chaos up there by the time I get through with you. And a lot of people are going to pay a lot of money and maybe go to jail themselves for plainly allowing, because with an unconstitutional law, what that means is the court never had jurisdiction. It couldn't have. If you're actively aiding and abetting a court to exercise jurisdiction it doesn't have, the 9 old farts, the U.S. Supreme Court say it, not me. That's treason to the Constitution. It is. By the way, those of you who write me and request information on my modestly priced constitutional defense document packets, send me an email, uwinnincourt@gmail.com, and I will send you a copy of a very famous speech made by Justice Brandeis about this very subject, very well known, and he talks about the duty of government officials to obey the law. And you read this, and and this is what they're supposed to do, and you compare that to what you read in this article in Oregon. They're going to be getting a copy of this to me and said, "Did you people not study this stuff in law school? What's the problem here?" My goodness. So yeah, I'll be happy to get you a copy of that and a copy of my recent document that I'm doing on David Dudley Field. I mentioned in an earlier video, I've got excerpts from the case of Ex parte McArdle. I'll send you a complimentary copy of that one too. And these things, we start getting going in the right direction here, and you'll understand. And with Field, the good news is, I think it makes it easy to understand with what he said about the McArdle case at the time, and what we have today. It's gotten much worse. But you can see either the government has the power or they don't have it. A quickie about that, by the way, it's a little off the subject here, but it really isn't. And that is that, the Civil War wasn't a war between belligerent states, like World War I and World War II, for example. In fact, I was just watching a real good movie called The Great Escape the other day with my friend and kid that I helped raise. And at the end of the movie, the Germans got together almost all the people that had escaped and put them in a truck and were driving them back to camp. And they stopped on the way and said, "Listen, go get out and stretch and get a little exercise here. It's going to take hours before we get back." And all of them did, and they pull out a submachine gun and they kill every one of them. No crime was committed there. Under international law, those are belligerents. They're escaped from jail. They don't have any rights. There would have been no criminal prosecutions for that. That wouldn't have been true with the war between the states. That wasn't a belligerent conflict. It wasn't a war. It was a rebellion, a completely different matter. I'll be talking about that on another video. But trust me, that's worlds apart from what you recognize in these two world wars, to name a couple of obvious ones. So it's just the way that works. But we do have rights. And like David Dudley Field said in his argument with McArdle, that he may be a traitor, but the government first has to get a grand jury indictment and get him convicted by a jury. Then we can talk about the punishment. That's how it's supposed to work. And that's what they're not seeing here in Oregon either. They will be hearing from me, and you'll be hearing in the next videos we do, probably if I hear back from them and see what answers I get to. This is absolutely unconscionable for them to do what they've done here. That said, like my videos, subscribe, tell your friends, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.